It's basically a recording. That's why we do this.
Well, can you think of the last educational thing you saw that was funny ever in life?
I've seen a couple. There's one video that we had here that was,
well, not a video. I just mean like on a network, on cable.
I mean,
other than Bill Nye, the science guy.
Yeah, I mean, that would probably, honestly, that'd probably be where you're probably, that's not a fucking bad, interesting angle. Here's why.
That's what I'm saying. That should just be our template, because what are we going to think of that's better than that?
No, I mean, like Bill Nye. What about like those Mythbusters and stuff? You know what they kind of do and how they, they have. That's not a fucking bad angle at all. That's really interesting. Let's rattle through what we have. Let's talk about what are the things we're going to think about, and then on top of that, let's go with other ideas we could add it to the list. As far as this is obviously parts and pieces that you got. Jason and I put some stuff together, and then Paul punched up different angles. And what I'll do is I'll mention what Paul's angles were, and then we can kind of talk about it. So instead of having 13 or I think 12 chapters or something that are just chapter 1's about this, instead the concept is to go with two guys, okay, on a road trip. They're two comedians, okay, and they're going from Bray Improv to Hollywood to Irvine to blah 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 blah, all the way through. It's basically, instead of chapters, you're hitting 12 different comedy clubs. Now we don't physically have to, okay, but the concept is these two dudes on the road, and they're kind of like our intro guys. Maybe, I don't know if you've seen like Key and Peele or some of these other. It's basically the two guys talking, and they're kind of talking about topics, and they're bringing you into a story. So it's kind of like, hey, da 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 da. And so they would be like the recurring actors, okay, that we can film one day, knock out all 12 videos and all the intros. As far as conceptually, how to explain the rules of defensive driving, I don't remember if this is your idea or yours or mine, I don't remember, but a bunch of comedians in a green room just kind of bullshitting together. And they're basically talking about the TEA rules. Oh, we can't, I remember you can't do this. You got to make sure your paperwork's in order. And they can kind of just almost kind of rattle together, and people are leaving, people are getting their makeup on, people are getting ready. So it's kind of like the concept we were coming up with was trying to infuse as much stand-up comedy back into this as possible. So it's like almost kind of not just this, but it's like what happens behind the scenes of comedy. Like you have to deal with on the road, green room, things. I like fuck standing on a stage and going like, hey, we're chapter 1, pajamas. Fuck that. Let's try to put them in cooler environments. Maybe we're dealing with I didn't think about this. Maybe we're dealing with a kick out of a customer, or we're kicking somebody out of the club, and maybe there's, just the shit that we have to deal with. This is one of his, he said one of the worst problems being defensive driving was this fucking asshole kid who would never bring his paperwork, doesn't know any of the fucking, doesn't give a shit that he's even there, and you're supposed to like help him through the class, and he doesn't even fucking give a fuck. He's just kind of, you're almost having to yell at him.
How would I know where you got the ticket? Where'd you get the ticket? I don't know. Dallas? Was it a Dallas cop? We're in Fort Worth. You remember where you were? We can fill in some of the, where it's like, dude, what the fuck did you think? I'd have all your paperwork with me? There was one, but it was just the zero fucks given dude that was like,
yeah.
So maybe that's a way we can bring more of the rules into it, where you're going like, dude, you have to know this.
Do not do this.
Right.
Here's an example of what not to do.
Right.
Not just in a class like this.
Yeah, you're ruined for life. Why am I teaching how to drive? Because the road you're on is a dead end.
I'm going to see you again probably really soon.
One time I kicked the kid out just because he was so stupid.
He had no idea that he got kicked out, probably.
No, I kicked it. He knew. Because he was like that. He was being very difficult. I was like, look, you're not cooperating with me, and I don't know why you're here. I said, get your stuff together and come back. You can't kick me out. I got to have it done today. I said, we've been talking, this was like by the 3rd hour. We've been talking about this for 3 hours now, and you can't get any of your paperwork at the end of the day. So even though this is your last day, I'm still not going to give you anything, so let's just end this now. Just leave now. Okay. It was a nightmare.
Chapter 2. No, this is why I wanted you guys here, so we can kind of talk about it. Chapter 2. Same guys. Intro to the chapter. This one's about traffic safety problems. This is per se Bray Improv. Okay. top five reasons for collisions. Okay, we go with this is kind of we go with a microphone. We go to like the state fair or somewhere there's a lot of people walk around and just start asking them like their collision stories or stories about them driving, and just try to get some content out of it, funny ways and funny things they kind of say, and you can kind of correct them, and you know it's almost kind of like. And Paul's idea was whoever this game show host is the same game show host through all of our game things. So that it's almost like every chapter, you know, you're going to get the two guys in the car, you're going to get maybe a game show, and you're going to get, you know, so it's almost logo and that we keep doing the same characters, and everybody knows every chapter is going to get 10 minutes of this, 5 minutes of this, 10 minutes of this, and 3 minutes of that kind of concept.
Right.
So the next one is Taxi Cab Confession Fun, where they're telling their worst legal thing that they've ever dealt with. Like, remember Byrne was talking about this time where he went back after a show to go hook up with a chick. Turned out that her husband came home, and he's a like state trooper, and so he's jumping out the damn window, hiding underneath the house, and he's, you know, and he's like, you know, and then I'm having to deal with a cop chasing me. And it's worse than just a husband that's pissed. Now he has a gun. And it was a really funny story. Not that one didn't make it, but it's just what can we pull out? What it could be scripted, you know, obviously.
Right.
Another one was like DMV from Hell, where everybody's just talking about their legal, you know, things that they've gone through. Again, going back to the chapter concept and whatever the message that we're trying to push is, you know, traffic safety problems. But rather than being in a DMV, we could do it externally on some building and just Photoshop in DMV at some point, you know. So we could have a whole bunch of people just standing outside, almost looking like they're waiting in line to go into the DMV. So we don't, as far as set and cost, we could keep it real low, and we can have a lot of dialogue between 4 or 5 people, kind of talking about their problems. So again, just concepts. Chapter 3, factors that influence drivers' performance. This would be now at Irvine, so we got our 2 guys again. This was yours, the texting video. 2 guys heading to the same location. One is texting and one's not, and everything goes wrong for the one guy who's texting.
Right.
Okay. We'd have to plan it out, kind of know what we're going to do, and obviously we don't want to wreck a car. But maybe we know 2 people that have similar cars. One's wrecked and one's not. So we started with a clean one, or we go rent one, or go to a fucking car lot.
Just call Uber and wreck the guy's car and dump him in the alley.
I wasn't done that. Hello, Tuesday.
Is it Wednesday already?
Well, can I just pitch something real quick?
Yeah, pitch it.
It seems to me it's so the couple, the two guys.
Mm-hmm.
What if we made it a couple,
Okay.
a guy and a girl?
Okay.
Because then, and she's a little bit eye candy-ish.
Okay.
Because honestly, looking at 2 dudes for 6 hours.
Totally. I was thinking that I was not opposed at all about a guy and girl. Rather than, I wouldn't want them to be a couple necessarily. I think maybe it'd be like 2 road comics, and then it could be a guy and girl, or it could be 2 chicks.
Well, that's just fucking irritating.
The couple pieces to it.
Be serious.
No, it's just
There's not a whole lot of. Let me before we go there. I'm not opposed to it at all. I was thinking that as you go to comedy clubs, they could almost be picking up other comedians from those comedy clubs. So it could be 2, and then they hit Bray, and now there's 3, you know, and that could be like the random hot chick that's in there too, you know. So I'm not opposed at all. And
Well,
no, I
that's
don't
what
think it's 6 hours. I'm thinking probably more like,
well, I mean, just you know, if they're always going to start out, it's like, oh, I like that couple, because people just like couples more than 2 dudes.
would you like, totally. Okay, so, but would they be like relationship couple?
No, but this is one of the. It could just be 2 comics. That's fine. But I was thinking if one of the things is we just added this as a layer, is that it's kind of obvious they sort of like each other. That's not what it's about.
Right.
But it's kind of like they sort of like each other. And it'd just be funny if, like, through the course of this, we kind of uncover how she dated him, but he's such a horrible driver. Like, she's so superficial. She's using dating as the thing. So, like, if I'm the girl and you're the guy and I'm driving, and, you know, you're just saying everything wrong. Like, you know, I don't know why we can't speed up in school zones. I mean, kids need to learn school is tough. Life is tough.
In the herd.
Then the herd. Like, yeah, I know, right? God, I never have kids with this guy. He's horrible.
Subconscious,
Right.
the
So it's just little things.
voiceover stuff of
Yeah,
smiling and nodding, but
yeah.
whether it's a thought bubble or whether it's a voice.
Mm-hmm. And then him going, yeah, I showed her, I'm a man. So it could just be a little subtle thing, and we can just hit it here and there. And then what happens is at the end, because then by the end people are wondering, are they going to get together?
Then they both walk up to their husbands and wives. The opposite
Something like
women of
that.
The road comic.
It could be something like that, or they find out they're brother and sister. No, so
It is Texas. No, it's not. It's all over the country.
so it could just be some kind of. I'm just trying to think of.
A dynamic to it. My only concern would be, here's my concern with it. We got a one setting. I don't know how long we can keep an audience captive. I'm thinking 3 minutes at the beginning would probably be the most amount of time you could have with two people in a car, and then the next chapter, 3 minutes. Kind of.
Yeah, very short.
I don't think
Totally
you,
agree.
You know,
One of the things we were talking about was good, bad, worse.
Mm-hmm.
We've got two, good and bad. But if the comic, whether it's introducing a third opener as we pick up the other guy, like there's good, bad, worse advice that's given from. So
Right.
one of them makes sense. One of them is pretty fucking bad. What? Like the worst case scenario for, and that person can changing up that dynamic where the two couple can kind of band together against the dickhead or the.
I mean, think about like almost Pulp Fiction, where the guy was in the back and they shot him in the head. Like that kind of dynamic into certain pieces of it. Or maybe they pick up a hitchhiker along the road, or something. We could introduce other people into this thing too. So
It'd be so funny if we reshot horrible driving scenes, but with defensive driving-minded people in them.
well, that's interesting.
The
Like the
Like if
fucking-
we
the
took
French Connection.
like where he's racing under the thing,
Yeah.
but he just no go, please go.
Green screening.
Bye.
Whatever interjected stop footage.
or it's
Or
like a
classic.
getaway, and all the robbers hop in the car, and he's using like, you guys, come on.
That could just be our movie minute. Our movie minute. What
we,
if?
got a whole bunch at the end. There's a whole bunch of scenes that we thought of in different movies that we could redo. And we were thinking, Paul and I, we'll get to it in a second. I'll keep going. Okay, so here's this one. I like the blogger concept where you have a blogger. I think it was you talking about it. I think it was talking about Kathleen Madigan or something. Maybe it was you talking about it. But basically, we could have like attitude from angry blogger kind of chick where it's like that just one shot, one cam, and they're just a crazy person talking to their YouTube audience. And we can, again, sticking with the theme and the message that we're trying to do for this chapter, the question becomes what dialogue and stuff. I don't know how far we can go, but again, just conceptually, another idea that's on the table. Here's another truck game show. This one's a truck driver. We go to a truck driver, stop, and we do a game show with them. And it's the same host.
Do you mean like Man on the Street, like
there's
quiz on the street?
Yeah, it'd be like quizzes, but we try to do a different type. It wouldn't be like that would be one of the game shows where he's running down the street and doing that. Other ones we'd set up like a game. Maybe we bring out like a box and, hey, would you like to play a game with us? We're gonna do it. Yeah, I guess. And someone comes out with a big long stick. Hey, how's it going? It's good to see you guys. Well, today's contestants, and it's like we can make it seem like it's totally.
Now, are these legitimate truck drivers, or is it
Yeah,
all
these are. I say we go to a real truck yard. And we go sit there at truck stop, and we
go lot lizard man? Awesome.
and we can find some really crazy people. Now we can bring in pretty much actors too. Like a John Toll or someone like that. Kind of.
I think
person.
you almost have to, just because with
Timing.
ways you can make boring
And we can control the dialogue a lot better.
Yeah, and there's still the possibility to improv to a scene with somebody that knows what they're doing and come up with something great.
Right.
We got to get beginning, middle, and end, and then playing around and in post cutting it so that it's a bit more usable as opposed to rolling the dice with actual human beings who are by and large are fucking assholes and idiots.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those things they shoot for 3 hours and they edit down to the best 4 minutes.
Right.
And that's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
I did the Man on the Street stuff for Newsfix, and they wanted me to do stuff during the day at 2 o'clock. I'm like, dude, I can't. You need foot traffic, and you need a lot of people because we're trying to get a minute and a half. But I got to be out there for 2 hours or more to be able to, and hopefully.
And then it's 8 hours of editing. I mean, it's really
when you're dealing with real people.
Don't want to sign a waiver at the end too? Are you going to ask them to sign a waiver before you start talking to them?
If you get them to say yes on camera, that's enough for, say, TV.
Okay.
I think, are you okay with us recording? Yes. Then there's not a long, this is what we're doing it for, whatever. Generally, you don't have to get them to sign something.
Yeah, so those are great, but they're just, I'm letting you know, they're work.
Totally.
They're a lot of work.
Here's the thing. We want to try to get 6 hours of footage over the course of this year. Okay, like every month, I want to go and film blah blah blah. We'll plan for it, but we want to make that as long and as far as possible. You know, so I'm totally there with you to try to control it and make it easier for.
Well, I mean, but on the other side, you know, I hate sitting there when I'm watching something that's supposed to be all reality, and you can tell they're actors.
Right.
I mean,
and so
I hate that too. So
what we'll do is we'll just try it. Yeah, we're gonna have to choose our participants very wisely, but that's a good problem to have. At least we're at that point.
Yeah.
Chapter 4, traffic safety problems. Now we're in Ontario, California. Again, doesn't matter what city. We'll figure out a pathway. Again, I think it'd be cool instead of that map of all those cities, it's a map of the United States. It has lines drawn like Indiana Jones, dot to dot, and it kind of like you see a little car move between chapters, like kind of concept. Oh no, upgrade, fuck off.
this is fun to make a computer. Why is
these guys are so good to fix your computer. Chapter 4. This is where traffic safety questions. This was yours. No, this was the man on the street style, running around asking legitimate questions about legal. Is it do this, 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 this? I think this would be easier to do because we have a series of questions that we ask them and they give us the answers for it.
Let me throw this in. It would be funny to do one of those at night in an area where everyone's drunk.
Right. No, that would be a lot of fun.
Sir, do you mind if we ask you what?
We're here in New Orleans.
Well, like in Fort Worth.
Why don't you just go to Deep Ellum or fucking one of those areas that have all that foot traffic and walking like Greenville Avenue. Fucking yeah, I think
St. Patrick's Day, where you've got lots of foot traffic.
Shitloads. Question is the TEA going to approve a bunch of shit-faced people? We'd have to be very careful on how
I think
drunk they look.
as long as there was content,
right?
And we don't. It's like these people were drunk. We're not bringing up that they're drunk,
right?
But people watching it going, I can't believe they interview all these drunk people. I think that's fine.
Okay.
So we're not glorifying alcoholism or drinking or anything like that. The only problem is woo in the background. But it just
occasionally
we may try these things, you try them and they just blow up in your face, and then sometimes you're like, it was such a stupid idea and it killed.
Right. I think here's the good news. We're going to have a team of people that are just really happy to be doing this, more so than out in California where it's all production and we're trying to go heavy production. I think that's the cool thing about our friends and stuff. We're gonna have fun doing this project, all these videos.
Yeah.
So this next one's art on the street. This was yours. Traffic sign test. You just walk up to people and you ask them to draw or sketch out signs. Hey, what does a yield sign look like? Okay, draw it out. What is this? And then we start throwing in the weird ones. Okay, if this is the type of road you're approaching, what do you think the sign would look like? And we kind of go through all those signs. Also, I had a different one was the puppet show where we have puppets pop up, and then they pop up and they're showing signs. Now we have a whole puppet show going on. Cheap, inexpensive, probably borrowed Darren Collins' private collection of puppets. But I thought that'd be fun where we could, it's informative, we can control the script, and it's something completely different. Now for something completely different. And I thought this is yours, is a comedian with a collection of newspapers and magazines about how stupid drivers are. And I think it'd be great if he was talking about laws, street laws, legal laws and stuff. There's some you can't have a donkey sleep in your bathtub. I think there's a book what I read when I was little, and there's just fucking laws that are on the books that are completely fucking ridiculous. You can't chew bubble gum and, with an umbrella, and
there's one where if your wife drives, you're supposed to walk behind her with sparklers and a whistle.
That's pretty funny. I don't think it's real, but that's really funny.
That is real. That's from it's Missouri state laws, like in the 20s or 30s. Yeah.
And that's what would be fun, is having someone totally dry. And I think you had mentioned someone like Lewis Black, kind of just someone like him is getting fucking angry, while going through these laws.
In Russia, you can't do a U-turn, but you can drive backwards as far as you want.
Can I tell you, I was in Moscow for 10 days.
No.
I was a stand-up class over there, and I was just appalled. Because, over there in Russia, when they have a collision,
okay,
the police eventually show up. they don't care. Like one day I got to class and everybody was exhausted. I was like, what's going on? They go, well, there was a wreck last night on our way home and we all just slept in our cars. Because they literally just turned the car off and like, well, we're fucked until someone shows up. And then when the police show up, like if you and I had a collision, he shows up, and I'm totally, I mean, your mom is in the grill of my car. But if I bribe him first, it's your fault.
Oh, yeah.
And then when there's collisions, they just shove the cars to the side of the road. There's no towing. There's no body work. When they were driving me to the airport, I was like, it's like 30 cars out, and there's another 10 cars. What's going on? And they're like, oh, yeah, when there's collisions, we just shove them to the side of the road.
In the countryside, you've got essentially 2.5 lanes paved. So it can be 2 in one direction, 3 in one direction, 1, and it's kind of like this high-speed fucking chicken who's going to move over. And it's fucking places that I've ever driven in.
It's insane.
I saw people get hit. They try and cross instead of going underneath the streets. At the corner, they have the 34 where you go down underneath. They try and cross 16 lanes of traffic up top, and you just see a fucking dummy in the air. And one thing that always shook me is your fucking shoes stay right where they were when you got hit. Every fucking time.
Hey, Evan, you there?
I can see the shoes in the last spot. The shoes don't go tumbling off.
I can see you. You can
It's
hear us. So
cartoonish.
I'm gonna call you.
Wait. The place that I taught,
Oh, there you are.
every morning I went there, there was cars.
I hear you now.
Every morning. Like, why are cars being towed? They go, well, they change the parking rules every day. So they say you have to park this way. The next day they park the way. Like, no. Different now. Like,
Hey, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey guys.
I hear you all the time.
Hello.
Evan's the programmer guy, and so we're in chapter 5. We're gonna have to take off here shortly because he needs to get out of here. But we're just trying to rattle through this, and then you and I can kind of wrap it up at the back end. We're just kind of going through the ideas, trying to pick our favorites and what we're gonna do with them.
Awesome.
So you just stay on board. I'm just do a screen share. If you have anything that you want to bring up, and cool. I want you to just kind of pay attention to the cost. Obviously, like we talked about most of the shit, anyways. So.
Why are you on my web?
Yeah, this is your webpage. So here's one. This is chapter 5, and this has again our guys or guy and girl introing it. And this chapter is about special skills for difficult driving environments. This is sitting in class, and this is giving her a lesson about like environments and how to drive and yada yada yada. And the girl is just kind of daydreaming, and that now it's hot dude talking, but it still has the chick's voice throughout the whole thing, and the environment changes around it because she's just completely daydreaming about it. So maybe it's like she's talking about, water is going to be bad for your car and windshield wipers, and here it is, he's just getting soaked, and he's still talking, just kind of still keeping the whole, concept of the material, but the scene completely morphs into anything we want. He could be in any scene doing anything. And it could be different guys. It could be 2 guys kind of talking, So it's just more like this chick is just not paying attention. So, again, just another idea. Probably not very expensive.
Hold on. I really like that sort of idea of maybe this is something we can do for we don't have to do it all the time, but we might say, and now to make this section more interesting, we're going to teach this information as if it was a romantic novel.
Okay.
And then we just have a guy standing there in like
Wind blowing in his hair.
blonde or like a Fabio kind of guy,
right,
with the shirt, the big V-neck, so we can see the muscles underneath.
If I'm available, I'll do it. I understand exactly what you're saying.
So, but just have him talking about it. But it's like, it
doesn't match the character that they're.
Yeah. Have you guys seen the Swatty Potty commercial?
Yeah. Yeah, with the little unicorn taking a shit.
Here's where ice cream comes from.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's smart, but it's fucking disgusting.
It's disgusting. But if we had a guy like that, where he's just like, ladies,
yes,
if your brakes fail because your man does not understand you like I do. Like he's just that character.
Right. It could be a recurring theme. There's 2 we could as like a horror movie.
I really like that. Like each section was like at the beginning, we're like, we're going to teach defensive driving, but this is bullshit. But we used to say. And one of the things, we want to do is we want to make sure people, we know, okay, the script would be, this is defensive driving. You don't want to do this. We understand that. You'd rather be reading a romantic novel. You'd rather be seeing a sci-fi movie. You'd rather be on a date. Right. So what we're doing is we're going to teach it, but the flavor of things you wish you could be doing today.
Right.
Silent film, horror flick.
Or like, what if they had like What if they had like a remote and like you could see the over the top? It's almost like a menu, and like you could pull up a remote control, not the user, but us in the video, and it would show like we're basically changing it from romantic comedy to sci-fi. And it's basically, you know, you can see it like almost like a drop-down menu, and we're selecting, okay, and this one, you know, and then we switch it over, and now it's, you know,
the Real Housewives.
right?
We could do the Real Housewives of driving emergencies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that would be really fun because each section,
Information hoarders.
information hoarders.
Right.
Like we could take the reality. Well, yeah, we could take the reality show idea for a lot of these. But to me, here's the thing: we could write the individual jokes along, and they're hit or miss.
I'm not Kate.
All right.
But if we have a funny concept, we don't really have to write many jokes. It's like my favorite improv game is Old Job, New Job. You know that. You know that Old Job, New Job. Where it's just somebody used to do a job, but now it's the first day on the new job, but they have the old job traits with them. So it's like a drill. They used to be a drill sergeant, but now they're a kindergarten teacher. Right. So now they do kindergarten teacher things, but with the drill sergeant thing. So like when the kids line up for recess, he dresses them down. When they go to lunch, one kid doesn't finish his juice box, so they've all got to do push-ups.
Right.
Like it's playtime, so he teaches them how in 1 minute to assemble and disassemble their Legos while blindfolded. Like he's just old job, new job.
That's fine.
And the thing that's so great about it, you don't have to think about jokes or punchlines. It's just you play true to the scene.
Right.
So if we could come up with some of those.
That's great.
From a production standpoint, having
And
all
Evan, are
those
you able to hear all this stuff?
different backgrounds and stuff could get.
Yes, I am able to hear it. It's it gets all weird and digitized every once in a while, so I'm keeping the mute on my end, but I can hear fine.
Well, he brought up a great point about production costs. But if we just had a guy like a romantic novelist, I mean, like a Fabio, teaching the class, but just saying things like, you know, when your brakes go out, because it's a scary feeling not being held, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway,
you've got two different choices to do either high production value or low production on purpose, low production value.
Right.
And I think from a time standpoint, a cost standpoint, if it's, as you said, I hate seeing something that's reality that you know is contrived.
Right.
Same thing with this, but we can't do it like Key and Peele style.
We're just
going
going to cheat and make it purposefully cheap.
Still getting the character and point across,
Uh-huh.
but I think it can certainly make it more engaging. And obviously,
I think that's a real easy way to do a lot of these. And then the real Housewives thing is just 4 women in a car. All we need is 4 girls talking in a car. But in that characterization of, I've never watched those shows, but I get it. There's usually the slutty one. There's usually the beat down one.
And they get the doctor one, and then you have the one that most women relate to, the fat, chubby. But I'm just kidding. Okay, let's keep rolling down these.
So anyway,
I like it. I got it. This was the other one, night driving. I think this was yours, Dean. He's blindfolded and he's asked questions and he has to take steps every time he gets something wrong. There's Legos and basically you're putting him into like a fucking just a shitty environment, and he wants to get the right answer, and every time he gets the wrong answer, he has to walk. This could really be a game show with our game show host coming back. So we, trying to think of how many game shows we can slide back in. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's this Bat B-A-T Dad, or where he's always like popping up, and he's like, Samantha, what are you doing? And it's like just scares the shit out of his family everywhere.
Comes up slowly.
And it's just like he does like it's almost selfie style. And so taking that same concept is Fact Dad, and his daughter's about to get her car. And so he's just popping up randomly with facts, just in her locker while she's, on the track and field, and she's in high school, and he's just bumping out facts, like she's about to make out with the boyfriend in the car, and he just pops out of the back like, is this a good environment for you? Like trying
I
to
love that. That's great. It's so cheap and simple. And just as a sideline, like one of the things you could do is he could quiz her. And it's like 4 questions. And there's these little pink bubbles, but they're actually bubble gum. Like each one pops. Like that's a simple enough graphic. Like, would you do this? Pop. No, Dad. Would you do this? Pop. And like the one that she should do is the eye roll.
Roll your eyes. Chapter 6, physical forces that influence drivers. Again, we have our hosts. Then thinking about an environment, kind of like Cheers, where it's just like we could do it at a bar, one of our bars, and the wait staff's walking in, the bartender's bartending, the comedian's there, and we can just have dialogue flowing, keep the message that we're trying to keep, so TAEA is happy. But we could have just an influx of different people just kind of quickly just kind of keeping this cool little community while they're in the middle of a rush, just kind of the working.
Can I just pitch this too?
Yeah.
Just the idea of to me, this was the worst section to teach. It was worse than drinking and driving because they knew we had to be serious during the drinking and driving section. So that was fine. But the physics, people's eyes would just roll back. It's explaining kinetic energy and all that kind of stuff. So maybe one of the things we could do is, look, we know this section is not going to be fantastic, but we're just going to pretend it's fantastic because this section is based on the idea, what if women found physics sexy?
Okay.
And then it could just be women, or like a guy on a date or whatever, and she's just like, again, we can't make it too sexual because of the TEA, but she's just like, I really had a nice time. Yeah, me too. And I kind of want to see you again. I like to see you again too, but I just don't know if we're compatible. Did you know braking distance is? Oh, really? Like just it ends up like that.
Like they're okay.
I mean, does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. Where like they're flirting.
How you turn on a
Okay, hold
woman
on.
in an alternate dimension.
Yeah.
The way to a woman's heart is not through money and power, but knowledge of kinetic energy.
And
Well,
see
what
women
if it's
at a
like-
club
What
going,
if it's like two? What I'm just throwing out. What if it's like two geeks and they both get off on this type of stuff, and this
They
is just
bang
a romantic
type
language between the two of them, and they're giving information, and he's even pulling up like PowerPoint presentations to flirt.
or it would be funny if there's like a guy, it's like a kind of a hot girl sitting somewhere at a bar, let's say, and one studly guy comes up, hey baby, I'm a lawyer in my car, and another guy comes up, and is like, hey, I noticed you standing here by yourself, and and then he just like the nerd, like it's dueling
date,
guys
Potentials.
courting her,
right?
and it just goes back and forth, and we can just hit 3 or 4 points real quick. But I love
maybe-
the nerdy guy with the charts.
What if the one guy that's like the Devoneer guy that and he's countering everything he's saying, like he's more going like, there's a physical attraction. He's like, well, technically physical attraction would be, blah, 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 blah. And then he's like basically spading him on the knowledge of everything because
That could be funny. Or maybe two guys talking and one's really bummed. What's wrong? Well, she left me, man. What, man? You make $200,000 a year. You're driving a Porsche. Your company's about to be sold. He's into physics, man. What? You can't beat a physics guy. Are you kidding me? And then it could be like some flashbacks of like, well, I knew it was bad when I walked in the house and there was
scales.
there were scales in the house or something.
We're gonna have to let's keep going
Bad
through this
lip
one.
reading is another one.
Bad lip. But see, that's a lot of work. Not to say any work, but let's keep rolling through here because
Okay.
we're limited time with Deanie. This one's the real weather conditions. You'll see this one right here, Evan. Ideas, and we just basically have some dude talking about real weather conditions, and
Oh, yeah.
he's getting pegged with all the environments he's talking about. Like, rain, he's getting hit with rain, snow, he's getting hit with snowballs, and basically he's just trying to maintain conversation while he's just getting fucking pegged in the face with everything.
Yeah, he
possibly
doesn't react at all.
right? Feathers are hitting him, things that are just anything that would be relative and keeping to the TEA's material. But we're just basically putting this guy through a little shithole hell. Other ones, you can't go wrong with bad weather wrecks. The cars just sliding down the road. I mean, we could probably find 1,000 videos of just cars just physically, having physical issues, and the weather conditions are relevant. Knowledge of lawbreakers. This is one I really like, and this guy's kind of like talking about like the physics of tires and how tires work and keeping proper pressure. And
I love them.
and then as it's sitting here talking, he's changing out the tire on this car, and then it pans out, and he's really just stealing the fucking tires,
Yeah,
and it's all in
that's
bricks.
It's funny.
And then now it's chapter 7. And by the way, Evan, this has all been recorded, and this is all on my YouTube page, so I'll send you the link
Okay,
so
awesome.
you can watch the first 4. Plus, we can go back and look at notes and talk about it again. Chapter 7, perpetual skill needed for driving. Again, our 2 main characters intro the chapter. And then I thought it'd be fun to have like girls in a bathroom. Hey, Mr. Varghese. Having some girls in the bathroom sitting here kind of talking amongst themselves, because I don't know why they all go to the bathroom, but they're shit-faced. They're talking about how they need to get out of there. Again, as much material of the TEA stuff, but it's really just, you can see their feet moving, maybe it's not a fart joke, but it's clearly a fart joke,
Yeah.
and they're, all it is really chicks in there putting on their makeup, talking about the physics and things. What about it's perpetual skills needed for drive, skills needed,
Yeah, I like
and they're
that.
kind of all in that environment. This is one Paul really liked. This is the mockumentary, and he wants this one kind of infused across the whole show. And it's basically take The Office style filming, but it's all about the worst or the first defensive driving teacher. So it's like he's basically this old ass fucking dude. He says everything wrong, and nobody likes him, but they talk about him behind his back to the camera, so it's all
I can do
filmed.
this.
What else did you have with that, Paul?
That seems like an intro for the very first defensive back class.
In 1923, the first collision between Kansas City.
What's that?
I missed what he said.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's got some on. Scoot up so he can hear you. So he was saying that like we'd have like old time 1920s reels of defensive driving, and maybe even have like the first person who had to take defensive driving. I don't remember what it was, but it was something real funny. But basically, we can run old footage, and we just have the same old dude as a recurring character throughout this entire defensive driving, and it's just people talking about. Say anything. He's like, you can't fucking drive with a donkey over 40 miles an hour on the freeway and blah, blah, blah. And then these guys are like, what is he talking about? You got to maintain this and do this. So we can almost keep to the material, but that could be like the comic relief is this really, really old defensive driving guy that's, never going to go away. And he's a fucking complete moron, or he's really smart. But there's so many dynamic elements to it that, it could be something fun we could do.
That would be funny. What if there was a class where they're training defensive driving instructors, and the guy gets up and they're like, no, that was interesting. People will find that interesting. Where is your drone? I've told you, work on your droning voice. Let me hear it. I don't know if I can really work on it. Being is much better. Is this so hard, people? And the thing could just be what
Too
people.
much panache.
Yeah. Your animations are lovely. Your videos are current. Where did you get these videos? All videos must be 30 years out of date. Where did you get this?
I said Betamax only. Betamax. Why is this on DVD?
I saw Prius in that. What are you doing?
This is way too relevant to common days.
That could be really fun because we
It's
can cover content,
right?
but it's the defensive driving.
And it could put him in
teacher's
different
school.
places. And this could kind of come back. One of the ideas, I don't remember.
That'll get a laugh. No one is sleepy. You've been up there for 10 minutes. I am not drowsy at all. What is wrong with you? I am awake and involved.
You think we're just going to replace the Laserdisc?
So that's great. The defensive driving instructors.
Just the history of the instructor. And then one of the things we had come up with was thanking randomly for not taking defensive driving to our competitors. But it's like the most ridiculous ones, like, thanks for not going to defensive driving at Chippendales. Thanks for not, blah, 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 blah. And just we show the worst fucking places to ever take defensive driving. And we're just randomly dropping in a thank you commercial to our audience. And
Well, just all the different
The
themes.
gun range.
Yeah.
There's
water
what?
park, the gun range and water park.
The gun range defensive driving class, and I love that. And the crocodile zoo.
Right. And it
Defensive
doesn't have
driving
to say,
class.
it could be just a graphic. We could just put in almost be like a scene change, and here at Defensive Driving Improv.
Hope you're having fun because you could be taking the.
They were
Blah, blah, blah.
trying in Minnesota.
Yes.
That's hilarious. I love that.
So defensive driving, this one's going to be defensive driving strategies. And I'm going to be working with Dean really hard with all these to make sure we have the focus of the material first. So material meaning what TEA wants to see. So we don't lose sight of what we don't want to film the whole fucking thing and then find out TEA didn't like it because it didn't have enough content in there relevant that they think. So like one of them, again, our guy's intro to the chapter. And this is predictable reactions. This I thought was just funny. It was like trying to arrest a magician, and like a couple of cops are trying to arrest him, but he's a fucking magician, so he's always getting out of it. Meanwhile, he's kind of like they're talking about what laws he broke or what he did, but like by the end, the cops are in the car, they're locked in the back seat, and he's like magic. And it's like his handcuffs come off. You can't put handcuffs on a magician, and he's just doing things. I don't know how we'd bring him in, but I just think the concept's really funny of a magician and cops.
That's a great idea of maybe we could demonstrate a lot of different rules by, a magician got pulled over, a therapist got pulled over, we couldn't do a stripper, but like the Octomom got pulled over, like
Singing telegram.
singing telegram, like a lot of different weird professions get pulled over, and that would be great because there's actually a YouTube video of a magician who got pulled over and he videotaped it somehow, but he actually showed the cop magic and the cop let him go. That went viral like 2 or 3 years ago.
Nice.
But if we thought of because that's the thing we could do a lot of.
Right, just kind of like, and then again, focusing on what the material needs to be said, and then we put a funny
Yeah, because
environment.
if the magician gets pulled over, like let's say it's a school zone situation. The reason I pulled you over is you're going 22, or you didn't start slowing down until you were in the school zone. I didn't know you had to do that. Yes, sir, that's very important. Now, why are you in a rush? Well, I'm a magician. I'm on my way to a gig. I'm actually doing a school show. Well, I'm going to need you to step out of the car. Are you sure? Yes, please step out of the car. All right, and doves flutter out.
Yeah, it's just all
Pick a
the
license, any license.
Yeah.
pick a license, any license. That's stupid.
And another reason I pulled you over. Wait,
Let me guess.
I'm seeing.
I'm seeing these 3 warrants in my quality.
Wow, that's really good. But I'm still gonna. Yeah.
Then you have the therapist where he's like, you know why I pulled you over? Well, do you know why you pulled me over? Do you really know?
Why
Let's talk
do
about
you
this.
think you pulled me?
Yeah.
Yeah. The
How
reason
does
I pulled you over, you were
feel that
speeding.
you think I was speeding?
It's
Well,
this,
don't you feel like that's a metaphor for your relationship with your father? Do you think that's going out of control too? Aren't you really just pulling over your father every time?
Oh, that's funny. So we'll think of some professions that we can have fun with that. Okay, so keeping going. I thought it'd be cool to have, I don't know where the pictures are, but showing the chefs in a kitchen, like Julio, like they're like in the middle of a rush, like, you know, shitloads of food, waiters are grabbing the plates, it's like a chaos. And the main chef, he's just cool as a fucking cucumber, just throwing out like information and telling the audience, you know, facts about defensive driving and things that they need. While, you know, fire is going on in the background, the fish is blowing up, waiters are fucking looking for their food, you know, this guy, you know, just basically show, again, trying to infuse as much behind the scenes of a comedy club into it. And you're basically, you meet the improv chef, and he's teaching you this part of the chapter, but at the same time, you're watching what the fuck the waiters are having to deal with in the background. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I just want to throw this out there.
Okay.
Is it too inside baseball to make it so much comedy club stuff? I mean, just throwing that out there. I mean, to us, it's fascinating. But I found most civilians give half a shit about the comedy world. I mean,
Right.
they're a little interested in some stuff, but then after that, their eyes glaze open. They're like, oh, is that what it's like? And I know we have the venue and we have the accessibility to all that and everything.
It's more, here's my thing, and I totally don't disagree with you. We would have to do it in a creative way. It's more of, it's comedy defensive driving. There's nothing funny about defensive driving. The only thing we got going for us is the comedy element. And we're actually a comedy club. And I think the nostalgia of us having comedians that are actually the actors in here, you know, we'll start with the lower, you know, whatever caps we can get. And then you can start infusing bigger and bigger kids into it.
Yeah, I mean, if we could get like, you know,
Right.
a Kathleen Madigan in it or something.
Right. I mean, the chances and how much and the budget and how much money. It's really about just coming up. We're going to have to go through and figure out which are the cheapest ones that we can knock these things out, where they're going to be the most fun for the people watching.
Oh, this is me.
But over time, I want to keep infusing more and more and more into it. So something like the kitchen is really just an environment. This is kind of more like we have 3 paragraphs of content that we need one to get out. Well, let's just throw it into the kitchen and have the chef talk about it while everything's breaking down. And it's not so much, it's just really the content is what's relevant, and it's the environment that it's being told to you. Okay. So do I disagree? No, I don't disagree at all.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Be very careful on how, well, some people don't give a shit about the background. But it's better, again, this is better than just some dude standing on the fucking microphone talking to an audience, you know, and that's what I want to, and it doesn't have to be a chef like we talked about earlier, having a kick out. Meanwhile, while we're kicking somebody out, we're teaching them defensive driving, you know, and, you know, it could be like a news reporter, you know, like, or the improv, we're kicking out, you know, did you know, like, just trying to, once again, trying to infuse as much material that they're going to want, but at the same time, trying to show people that it's comedy. I think this is one of your ideas, Deanie. This is, again, a game show, and this guy is asking these chicks questions, the smoking hot chicks, and but the whole time he's really just flirting with them, and then at the end he's trying to get their number by, you know, certain questions he's asking, you know. I think this was your idea, and I think I just put a picture with it, but maybe it was yours. Again, just trying to think of other game shows and things we can have in there. Chapter 9, driving environment or emergencies. So again, guys, intro. Predictable reactions before and after drivers. I think this was yours. We are back with Comics A and B, and they perform a proper and improper driving procedures during an emergency. Jokes about how much Comic B messes up.
Yeah.
So essentially just like 2 comics kind of doing AV type
That's the
situation.
thing we used to do in the class. We'd bring two people up and say, no, this happened. So what should you do? And they'd use a lot of times it started failing because they knew what to do. But if they did something stupid, you go, okay, that's one choice, but here's what you should do, and I'll do it this way. And then you fucking asshole. I mean, you weren't like that, but that's the gist of it.
I think again, environment. This one's
I
I
can't believe I taught 10 years without getting arrested.
yeah, I probably should have. This one's this is something I saw years ago with the South Park guys, and while they were talking, every time the camera angle changed, they had a new pet, and so the pet nothing changed in the scene, but the scene around them was just changing, and they make no mention of it. So like they'd be sitting here petting a Shih Tzu, and then it's a Rottweiler, and then it's a Doberman Pinscher, and then it's like a giraffe, and it's like, you know, never acknowledge it, and the content's still flowing from what Dean's material needs to be. So, you know, basically they're just giving a paragraph that TEA is going to want to hear, and we're just making it funny because now he's wearing a bow tie, now it's a tie, maybe now he's wearing a swimsuit, you know, and they make no mention that scene, they're physically sitting in the same spot, but things are happening to them and around them.
Yeah.
Then,
Well, you know what thing I used to do in class? Oliver would make fun of me. I called it the tray of mystery. And I'd get somebody, and I'd give them one of the trays here.
Okay.
And this is back when the classes were 50 people. I said, hey, everybody, if you would, just take something out of your pockets. You know, nothing personal, but like, you know, some breath mints or a business card, or maybe you have something in your purse like a rubber band or whatever. Just everyone try and take something out of your pockets. Purse. And then I'd say, okay, will you take this tray and just go around and just collect the tray from everybody? Or no, I said, everybody bring this stuff up here and put it on the tray. So they'd all come and put stuff on the tray. I'd say, now, will you take the tray and just walk it around real quick? And everybody, I just want you to, you know, this is an observation skill. So let's just watch. He's going to go through quick. And then as soon as you walk through the room, I want you to go out in the hallway. And say, okay, now everybody, what I want you to do is write down 10 to 15 things you remember about Jason. And no one could remember 4 things. It was, and it was just like, now the point is, you're distracted. You're not looking at the right thing.
right.
Blah, blah, blah.
Look over here.
Yeah.
What does my left hand say?
So I like this idea, but like maybe at the end, if we're like, you know, there's a little bit of a point to it.
Okay.
Just like, now at the end, you may have noticed there was many changes, but here's the question. You notice changes every time, but the big question is, blah.
Yeah. What was his name? You know, or something
Yeah.
stupid like that.
What was his name?
Right.
And so just, I
Yeah.
love that idea.
No,
but I'm
I
just
think it's
throwing
great
that out
because
there.
then you're paying attention to stuff, and that's pretty much the whole answer.
Well, and then the
thing.
TEA can just go, well, they have the weirdest sense of humor, which is none. So everything changed every scene, but what's the point of doing that? Like I can hear them saying that. Well, the point is,
you know, pay attention to how many times he says the word purple, you know, and he goes through the whole story, and at the very end, they're like, okay, tell us what color is his tie, you know, and like, they're like, okay, you know, and everything's changing. Maybe his tie stays, that's the only relevant thing that stays the same.
right.
Okay, so here's another one is Mystery Science Theater style. So it's like we have the shadows and we're watching a video, and it could be like an old defensive driving video, or, you know, we're making our own dialogue over the top that's relevant to defensive driving. We could show like, you know, cars and Grand Theft Auto style. We could have this go on a lot with, you know, physics, you know, having car wrecks and showing it in Grand Theft Auto and showing a car getting, you know, destroyed and, you know, those type of things. But Mystery Science Theater style, where we're kind of giving our own dialogue over top of maybe an old school movie about driving or driving safety tips.
Now, we have to pay the rights to show? I mean, I'm sure
There's certain rules, and Evan would probably know. Evan, what is like the timeline of footage of some old ass movie? Isn't there like basically reels of shit that people don't give a fuck about anymore that we can just
Before it goes into the public domain automatically?
Yeah.
Is that it totally depends. I mean, like 1928.
Okay.
Anything that old is basically automatically in the public domain. But yeah, before 1976, there was like periods where stuff had to be re-registered, and it wasn't always, so it just depends. But anything that's been made after 1976 is going to be protected by copyright unless the maker expressly put it out there and released it into the public domain. Like if they said this is released for the public domain, then it's fine. But yeah, anything made after 1976 is problematic.
Okay, so we'll try to see if we can find some kind of like stock footage of some stuff.
That's what I would do. Just
Right, 5 minutes, and then if it has a car in it, then we'll just rewrite the whole scene with new words. Okay, chapter 10, occupant restraints and protective equipment. Again, our guys intro it. Predictable reactions. I think this was yours, Danny. I know you need to get out of here. So items that are easily destroyed, like eggs, pumpkins, fluorescent light bulbs, are thrown into the back of a pickup. and different speeds. This could also be items that are thrown. I guess it's just basically just throwing shit onto the road. Is that what you're kind of going with on this? Okay. Again, car wrecks. Can't go wrong with car wrecks and car chases. This is another one of his. It was a merry-go-round. Trying to talk about the, trying to do something on a merry-go-round. Like, you can't do shit on a merry-go-round. And now we're like trying to build a stack of cards or like Legos or something. I think it was more back this me. As far as the restraints and protective equipment. So this one is one I liked. This is the old man where he sounds like he's racist as fuck, but he's really not. He's just doesn't. It's like, I'm not going to let one of those texting and driving people date my daughter, And it just sounds like he's about to say the most fucking racist shit. And it's really, he just really hates bad drivers. So I think that'd be fun. We can kind of talk about that. Occupant restraints and equipment. These scientists going over some of the physics and why restraining. I think anytime you get kids, they're going to say some fucking the damnedest things, So chapter 11, alcohol and traffic safety. Again, this is going to be a very careful subject. We need to walk a very fine line because it's so serious, but at the same time, we need to make it as enjoyable as possible. There's a comedian that does these lawnmower bits. I think it's a friend of Jason's. So maybe he has some footage that he'll allow us to use. Predictable reactions. This is one Deanie came up with. It was like predictable reactions, but it's hosted by Bill Cosby. And he's talking about drugs. I don't think that's going to get through TEA. One of the ones I liked was the DirecTV style. I don't know if you've seen them, but it's like where you have TV, this guy, and then you have cable, this guy. It's the same guy, and it's just like his lives are completely different. But it's like, hey, here's DWI, she's, sober Sean. And it's just like how their lives are completely different. He has to go to probation. This guy's on a date. He's got to do this, and this guy gets to do that. So it just kind of shows the complete contrast of one decision, like drinking and driving. Yeah. Maybe even going to jail because he murdered somebody or something like that. Just really hitting it home with them. So the offensive driving TEA.
Well, all that's great. It's the only thing I think they'll jump on.
I think we just make it serious. I think we just make it serious. I think we can have some fun with elements around it, but get to the content where it's really serious. We just need to, that's probably the chapter we just need to go really light on filming because it's probably not going to be usable. All the funny. They're probably
that's the thing they're going to jump on. Right. It's just, hey, look at me.
But I think if we can show the two worlds of the contrast between a DWI and not, I think that would be it. And we could have fun with it, where this guy actually has a great life, and that's the fun part. And this guy's life is absolutely miserable because, he did that. These are some random ideas. Intro at the beginning, all the comedians, this is yours. That comedians just pop up, and they're talking about, where was it? It was, no, that's the Chippendales and all those ideas. This is pop-up videos, so we can throw facts out during funny scenes or different things. So it kind of pops up with, again, more information, material that we want TEA to see. 80s style bad comics, another type of big cat, give it up for all the screwdrivers, give it up for texting and driving, again, couldn't really figure out how to use it. 70s access, educational, like this is one where it's like, drinking. And he goes, driving. And we just kind of keep that old Reading Rainbow style shitty graphics going. It would be one particular environment where we're just, again, shitting out some content. I like the idea where we're doing a news interview with some way over the top guy that was involved in a crime, like that one guy was like, hide your sister, hide your wife, get raped, these other ones are going to be like classic movies, but I think it'd be really funny. I think Paul came up with this one. Classic movies, like huge scenes. We're throwing out the dialogue of defensive driving, but it's really kids playing these iconic moments. So, like on the back of a come with me if you want to live, but it's like, and then he hops into like the, wheelbarrow that's attached to the back of the bike. And, we just redo these scenes with children, but we're still giving out as much information and material. I don't know how far we can go with it. It'd probably be too expensive, but just an idea. And these are just some other ideas, just other comedies that are in cars. I just kind of want to show, like, as much so as comedy and offensive driving are kind of oxymorons, the reality of it is they're not. Almost every comedy has a car scene. Something's going on in a car, so there's lots of laws getting broken or not being broken. In every single comedy, you're going to see car scenes. And here's what I like. This was kind of going back to the concept of trying to show behind the scenes of a comedy club. Morning radio run. So like you have to go, you're running to do this other radio station, but it's almost like every break he's still telling you facts. Like, oh, you're funny. You're gonna be all here Saturday and Sunday. Yep, come to the show. Okay, we're gonna take a commercial break. Did you know that defensive driving, you know, blah, 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 blah. And so it's like you can kind of see the behind the scenes as he's moving from this radio station to this TV station. And it just kind of shows what the fuck comedians have to go through, you know, more so than an interview, it'd be just kind of the environment. So again, these are all the kind of the basic ideas. I had some time to think about some other concepts. Obviously, you need to balance out shortly. Paul, did you have anything you want to throw at Deanie after we the previous conversation? Anything I might have forgot about? We talked about it briefly. Having the same recurring hosts for all the game shows.
Every chapter should have, like, to make it easier, is that every chapter is what, 6 segments, whatever. You can just insert whatever the next chapter is in that segment. So if you have like 6 consistent ones, you have the newsreel guy.
Oh, you're saying from the writing end, just have the same well that we go through.
Just so it makes
That makes sense.
Like having, like, you know how Touch Point has his 5 segments.
Yeah,
It just fits new content in every episode. It's basically easier to streamline.
I like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
You know, just finding those 5 or 6 segments that you just
Fill in the
that
blanks.
are open enough. And the key is finding them open enough for every chapter.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And we could even take probably some video of like a car chase with a cop car, and we just stop it every time he breaks the law, and we just talk about the law he's breaking at that moment. You know, like, and we go, all right, you know, almost kind of like 30 seconds on the board. You know, how many, you know, as the thing's going on, you're just nailing, bam, 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 bam. This is the law he's breaking. Oh, he's there. Oh, look at that pedestrian. Jaywalking, just for record. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da, you know.
So it's also easier to do, like, anything game show wise. It'd be easier for them to understand.
Right.
Like the top 5 answers.
And I think there needs to be lots of game show in here because we can throw lots of information and make the game show around it fun. You know, it'll definitely make it more enjoyable for them. As far as Dean and I are going to sit down and go through all these and figure out which ones and try to set the 5 or 6 things that we're going to try to do and pick out which ones of these scenes that we're going to do. And I'm going to go back with you, Evan, and I'll tell you which ones so we can get a budget for them and figure out what the cheapest way we can pull the scene off.
Okay.
As far as the back end defensive driving, I already showed him, but I guess you went into the defensive driving. Did you complete some more chapters or something? Because it looks like I'm further along than I was.
Me? Yeah, I completed all of them.
Okay, cool. So you saw, I was wondering, I'm like, cool, I got fucking defensive driving. I'm going to fucking save $12 a year. But as far as his thoughts on why they get away with that video on the bottom is because they're allowed to take a break. And so the very bottom has this. This is essentially, if you notice here, comedy break. So they don't ever have to actually, because it's not required for them to watch this video, they don't have to submit this video. So it can pretty much be, and so that's how they're getting away with this, and TABC is not on their ass. At least that's what Deanie's thinking.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, like anything that you put in that is not technically course content, you can add stuff that's not course content. That's just, you know, has some kind of entertainment value or some other value, you know.
During class, we used to show videos during the breaks.
Sure.
You know, Bob Strange shows
NASCAR or something.
whatever, and I used to show Warner Brothers cartoons, and I showed the Copperfield videos, and I showed. It was just something for people during those 10 minutes or 15 minutes where they're socially awkward. Just something to do. Because it's in the entertainment mecca, Tom thinks it is.
Right. All right. And as far as obviously, I need to find an artist.
Tug wasn't there a few years ago.
Because all this artwork, we're gonna have to replace all this artwork. I'm just gonna go through at this point, probably just pick out stock art to replace all these images. But if you know of somebody who is a cartoonist, let's make sure we bring him to the table. Obviously, we know Aaron, but he's fucking busy as fuck. So we probably need to find a cartoonist to kind of pull off some of these pictures and things we want to have cartooned out. Not now, but obviously if we can find someone and we can get them started, that'd be probably pretty groovy. Any questions, Evan, before I depart with you, and I can catch up with you later?
I was going to say, I thought a lot of these, a lot of the images were in the approved course materials before it was handed off to these web guys. And I think you guys own or have license to most of that imagery.
Yeah, I doubt that. This is probably, that's probably theirs, and that's just what they submitted over to them. So I think it's just, like, Dean wrote the original. They basically went back and wrote it again, and then Dean punched it back up. So I'm on the fence with how much that pictures and I'll put it this way. I don't want to use any other images, just because if we do get into some kind of battle, I don't want that to be an element that they can bitch about. Because content technically is our content and Dean approved content. So we can get away with probably an envelope on that one. But the images, I think it'd be smart for us to just redo all the images, at least with stock art or cartoons. But otherwise, any other questions?
No, not yet. But yeah, I definitely want to talk to you afterwards.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to depart now and end this, and then I'll send you a link to the beginning so you can watch the beginning of all this shit. And then we'll talk after I get with Dean and kind of a little bit more about what it's actually going to cost for production.
Okay.
All right. Cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Awesome.
All right. Bye.
We'll take care.